Welcome to my house. Fuck here. And I'm back with another video in my beginner's guide series. So in this one, we're going to go over terminal tackle. We're going to talk hooks, bobbers, sinkers, feeders, and the such. We're going to go through it all so you guys understand everything we got going on as far as terminal tackle goes. And the terminal tackle is important. You can only take so much. As we talked about in your backpack there, you only have so many slots, so you got to be selective, especially at this lower level, as to what bait you take, what hooks you take, what sinkers you take. So all this terminal tackle, it means a lot. So with that being said, we're going to talk all about that. But at the end of the last video, when we talked about the weapons mechanics, we were going to go do shopping, but we ran out of time. So, because we just did our stench, our 30-day stench there at Lone Star. We leveled up to level 12. We made like $29,000. We had 54 bait coins or something like that. And anyway, it was time to buy gear. It was time to get upgraded so we could move on to the next phase of the fishing plan here. So we're going to talk about that. I went there and I shopped out real quick. Let's jump over there. There we go. Get that back online. We're back. Good. All right. So, first thing off the bat that we picked up right away, because we gotta build our tackle up. We gotta be able to take bait with us. We gotta be able to take a couple poles with us. We needed a bigger fish net so we could make more money quicker. All right. So those are the things I took care of right away. Okay. Went and picked up the Comfort Camper. Okay. Waistcoat for $850. Right, that gives us 7 tackles. Now remember, when we started this game, you get 10 tackles. That's what you get. You're basically a naked guy here. You have no equipment, no nothing, but you have 10 tackles, 10 tackle slots down there where it says 22 now. It says 10 prior to all of this. So we bought the waistcoat. That gave us 7 tackles and 2 lines. So we've got 7. We had 7 tackles here added on to the 10, brought us up to 17, and 2 lines. Okay, so we had 2 line spots on the waistcoat. Then we picked up the triple case. He was available to us at level 12. So, I mean, I don't know what level exactly, but being at level 12, you could pick this triple case up. So he gave us the 3 rod slots. That's what we really needed there. So now we can pick up 2 more sticks. All right. He gave us 3 reel slots and 3 line slots. So once again, we got 3 more lines so we can get more lines. All right. So then I picked up on the Easy Go belt pocket, and that was an extra 5 tackles and 1 more line slot. Okay. So when you add all these line slots up, we ended up with 6. So now we can carry 6 spare lines with us, different lines, and our tackle numbers have gone up from 10 to 22 now because we added 12 more. And that was the 7, 3, and 5. 3? Yeah. No tackles here. 7 and 5. 12 more. Okay, now if you're looking over here, let's move over so this ungrays out. All right, there we go. Now, this is the Telefloat, that stick that they gave us that we started the game out with. All right, so that's still in slot number 1. Now we got 2 more slots, and we'll talk about what we put in those. But what I wanted to talk about here is we're looking at our tackle box. I'm clicked on the whole tackle box so I can see it all. And of course, you can just click on each one individually if you want. All right, as you go down through here. However, we'll go here. All right, now if you're looking at your lines, it says 2 out of 6 slots available. We're only using up 2. Well, if you look up here under line, there's 4 things being taken. However, your leaders count as a tackle. So they get marked up here in your tackle. They're part of this tackle slot, not part of your line slot. So every leader that you put in there, whether it be fluorocarbon or titanium leader, as you accumulate leaders, it's going to take up a tackle spot for you. So it says that we only have 2 lines, and that's all we have is 2. We have a 2-pound backup and we have an 8-pound backup. And I only need the 1 8-pound backup because these 2 poles that I'm running here are both running 8-pound. So we're good there. All right, so that's how that worked out. Now let's go down through. So we ended up, like I said, we bought all 3 of this, and we bought ourselves a new fish net. Okay, so we got that bigger. So what we also did then, let's go down through here because we're still at home, so I can switch back and forth if we want, is I went out and bought all the barbless hooks that I could buy up to my level. So right now it's level 5. I think it was level 5 and level 5 was the first level that you could buy hooks. The next bunch of hooks become available at level 14. And then the final batch of barbless hooks become available to you at level, I believe, 22. And we'll get them as they become available to us. We'll buy them all. So so what we've got now are the barbless hooks from number 8. So number 8, 6, 4, 2, 1, and a 1/0. Oh, number 10. Sorry. So 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1, and 1/0. So that's what we've got so far, and that in itself will handle it because the lakes that we're on, almost everything that we fish for, we'll be able to do it with this set of hooks right now. So we're not in bad shape. We're in pretty good shape. And the reason why you pay the gold and go the barbless is because it gives you more XP. It gives you get a barbless boost. Anytime you have barbless tackle on, you get a boost, an XP boost when you catch a fish like that. All right, so we picked up that. Now we picked up some baits. I went and picked up some baits, some small cut bait. I picked up on some bloodworms and some crickets. What else did I pick up on? Let's go to the home here. So we had some cheese, dough balls, flies, grasshoppers, maggots. So these are all the baits that you want to buy. Okay, so if we're not going to talk about baits the rest of the time, but let's go over there and look. And baits, talking about the baits, I kind of grabbed up on, I didn't grab the pearl barley yet. I didn't want to take up a slot. I could get that and put it in the home yet, but it's a good bait. Even though they give it to you at level 3, I mean, it's a good bait to have in there. The pet food works too. However, the red worms and the bloodworms at this point will outdo them. Your crickets, dough balls, and grasshoppers are important. This is going to be to catch specific fish. Not so much the pearl barley. You can get away without the pearl barley, actually, for quite a long time. The pet food, that is good for the catfish right there, and red ear sunfish when you're on Lone Star Lake. However, if you got your red worms, they outperform these guys. So you really don't even need to fish with it really. And they cost more money than the free wet red worm. So I don't buy them, to tell you the truth. I have them in my other account. I have all the baits, but in this one I wasn't going to waste the money because I needed the baits that counted. The small cut bait, the crickets, small minnows, maggots are important. Semolina balls are important. Now the crawfish and shrimp are important, but we'll get them down the road when we don't have to pay gold for them when we level up. Artificial salmon eggs, real good bait to have. We'll probably pick up on some of that. I'm just waiting to make a little more cash. That's for trout fishing. We're not fishing for trout yet, so there's no reason to have it yet. Once we get to Colorado and Oregon, then yeah, we need it, and we'll pick it up then. Okay, so that pretty much takes care of it. That's up to 11. Let's see, what are we going? And then, of course, castor maggots are good to have. Crawfish cut are good to have. Don't really need them yet on these waterways till I make a little more money. Then we'll pick them up and we'll have them in our home storage so we can swap them out. Mayflies are important. If you notice, I have mayflies. Pretty sure I bought mayflies already. Did I? Because I might have paid the gold for the mayflies. No, I didn't. I didn't pick them up. Okay. Yeah, they're worth it at level 5 to pick up. I mean, if you've got the gold, it's worth picking them up. It's not a bad deal if you spent spent 4 gold on mayflies, especially for the trout. I mean, by the time you get to Colorado, so they work real well. And I think when do we get them? We don't get to buy mayflies until level 16. But we only have 4 more levels to go, so we'll probably be level 16 before we ever get out to Colorado. All right, guys. Now, let's jump back to our inventory here. Okay, so those are the baits I kind of picked up on. And I picked up a couple of grubs and a nymph and an X series that they gave us. This was we got for one of the deals. They gave us a jig head. So all I did was pick up a couple of rubber ones to go with it. I also picked up a rubber worm, which I already have him rigged up on a bass jig. So then, of course, I didn't pick up any crankbaits yet, any hard baits at all. I do have one bass jig. Oh, we're at home here. Here's the backpack. There we go. All right, there we are. Now, in my backpack, I threw in a worm and a grub I'm taking with me because I'm also bringing the bass jig. So we're gonna hook that up there. Ain't got nothing there. No, got barbless narrow spoon, very important to pick this guy up, 1/4 ounce. He's very important in this game, so we grabbed him up right away. We paid gold for him. Picked up a casting spoon. All right, you pay gold for these casting spoons too, but it's a necessity. So I got the 1/4 ounce with us, and I have the 1/2 ounce at home. All right, in case at this point the stick we have barely takes a half. So if we're going somewhere where I'm specifically hunting down where I think I'm going to need that 2/0 hook versus the 1/0, then we'll kick something out of here so we can bring this guy in. We'll kick something out of the backpack, whatever. We'll kick out a bait, because we can always leave the bread at home and something else here. We can leave it home to get so we can pull stuff in. All right, that's what you have to do. You kind of got to juggle things in the beginning here because you just don't have the space to bring all your stuff. That's the frustrating part about it. All right, so that pretty much takes care of all that. Like I said, those are the 2 spoons that we picked up on. All right, so now let's talk about terminal tackle. All right, let's go to the shop to do this. We've got hooks, bobbers, sinkers, and feeders. That's what we're going to take a look at, the terminal tackle. And we'll talk about the simple hooks first. Now, your simple hooks, and I want to do that before we went in and talked about, the weapons that I bought afterward. We'll do that afterwards. So, in the simple hook categories, we got Kirby hooks, we got octopus hooks, catfish hooks, tapping hooks, and then we have barbless Kirby, barbless octopus, and barbless catfish. Okay? Now, these are all the different types. So, terminal tackle hooks. Now, let's go to simple hooks. Okay? Now, what I wanted to explain. Oh, that's what I want to do. Let's take a look. So, you guys, let me do that real fast. Let's go over to me, dog. Yeah, it is. All right, let's swap that over. All right, let's take a look at this. What I wanted to do, me docs. There we go. Let's take a look at what I have. The hook chart. There we go. Now, I found this out on the internet, and it seemed to be the one that worked the best for me. What I got here is, let's talk about these hooks. If you're looking at hooks, okay, there's a middle line, all right, that they have. And if you look at that second row of hooks, they're up there. The ones in the middle. If you see, the median starts like it's in between a number 1 and a 1/0. So it's like that would be the middle of the road. So as you get smaller from there, the numbers count up. So a number 1 is bigger than a number 2, which is bigger than a number 3, 4, 5, 6. And as on that timeline, as you go down the timeline, the numbers get higher, which they would on a timeline. If you put that medium, and you're going to your left now on your timeline, 1, 2. So you're counting farther away from the middle, the medium. So, and as you get farther away from that, the hooks get smaller, but the numbers get larger. So that's where it gets a little confusing. So a 6 is bigger than a 7, which is bigger than an 8. So then you have 9, 10, 11, 12. Now what this chart didn't show is you end up with 12 up to 16. So it's 13, 14, 15, and 16. And it keeps getting that small. Now, from your middle line, so between the 1 and then the next one up, the next one bigger is now a 1/0. So from here on up, from your middle medium, if you're going to the right now and you're getting bigger, so the 2 is bigger than the 1 and the 3 is bigger than 2. So as you can see, they get bigger. And I like this one because it actually gives you inches and centimeters. So it gives you actual length. So you're looking at that 9/0 hook. He's 3 inches long. I mean, that's a pretty big hook. Now, again, this chart only goes up to 9. And you can get 11, 12, 13, 14/0. And we have those in the game. Okay? So you understand a little bit. So your middle of the road on your timeline starts right between a number 1 and a 1/0. So if you're going to the left, they get smaller. So it'd be a 1, a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, down to 16. And they get smaller as you go. And then 1/0s, the 0s get bigger as you go up. And the numbers go the right way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they just get larger. All right, so let's go back. All right, now we're back over here. So, the Kirby hooks. Basically, that's what all these are here. Regular old hooks, and they're available from, I think there's the 10, there's a number 10, there's a number 12. You can get the number 12 at level 12. Okay, but then it starts with, at level 1, you can get the 10 and 8s, and then the 6, 4, 2, and they keep getting bigger. And then there's the 1, the 1/0, now the 2/0, they throw a 12 in there, and then you go up to the 3/0 is available. And these are all normal hooks. Now, I don't buy these, and I don't fish with them, just because I do barbless. Everything I do is in barbless. Except for some of the lures, you just can't buy all them lures. Are not available in a barbless style. So, you got to pick them up. And they keep going up. So then you've got your, 5/0, and there's the number 16. They keep going down. So these smaller ones are specialties, to get really something small like that, which is nice for the European bitterlings, the common roaches. Number 16, number 14 hook. That's pretty cool. I mean, you don't have to worry about a big fish stealing your bait. So then 6/0, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So you get up there to 10/0 hooks. Then you got the captain hooks. Okay. Now captain hooks are basically a circle hook, a black circle hook. You can use these for fishing for carp too, actually. Okay. So then your captain hooks run up. They start at, I think 7/0, was it? Yeah, 7/0. And they run up to 14/0. So there's your 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So now these are your simple hooks. And that's all of them. All right. Let's go to, then we'll just go ahead and hit the barbless hooks. All right. So your barbless hooks, like I said, they're gold for every one of them. They start at level 5. And that's the ones I picked up on. So I got all of them I could. And that's from a number 10, same deal, and right up to a 1/0. Now, when we go up 2 more levels, then we'll get the 2, 3, and 4/0s available to us. I believe 5 and 6 too. Yeah, 5 and 6. That'll get us up to 6/0. And then the big boys, we get them at level 22. And we'll have all of our barbless hooks. Okay, carp hooks. Now, carp hooks. Again, it's more like a circle hook, but it's a carp. I mean, they call it a carp, but it's close to an octopus. It's like in between an octopus and a circle. And these guys don't become available to you until level 34. When the carp baits become available and all that's in the 30s. Your bottom rods come available in the 30s. So all that kind of goes in hand. And we'll get to them when we get to them. Okay? And now your offset hooks. So take a good look at these offset hooks. Now, these offset hooks are used when you're fishing with rigs, when you're rigging up something, either it be a Carolina rig, a Texas rig, or a 3-way. And we're going to talk about them because that's terminal tackle. Okay? So you got your offset hooks. Number 4, 2, 1, 1/0, 2/0. These normally run larger hooks, and that's why they don't go any smaller than a 4. That's pretty small for an offset hook, actually. All right? But you can run a number 4 with a very small grub on it or something like that and actually fish for sunfish. Bluegills and sunfish, they'll hit on rubber worms. So you can use these rig ups. It allows you to use them on a spinning rod or a bait casting rod. And if you look over here in the shop, that's what all these little green squares over here are. It basically tells you, yes, you can use this on a spinning gear, you can use it on a bait gear, and you can't use it on a float rod. So you can't put this hook on something that you're going to use live, bait with, common bait, insects, whatever. So a match rod just doesn't, you can't put this hook on there. Okay? All right, so these are the offset hooks. These were used for hooking up rubber worms, your artificial live baits. That's what the offset hooks are for, right? And they range all the way from a number 4 up to a 14. So you can get them, they're up to 14 on. Okay. Now that takes care of our offset hooks. Let's talk about what you got on your notes here now, Buck. Yep, the common jig head. He's actually under lures, common jig heads, and barbless jig heads. And that's what I buy. I buy the barbless jig head. Okay? But now, the jig head replaces the offset hook with your rubber gear. So if you're throwing craws, worms, tubes, anything of that nature, you can either put them on an offset hook and use a spinning or bait casting rod with it, or you can put this on a spinning or bait casting rod, as it is here, and put your rubber on this. And a jig head is just basically a weighted headed hook that's already built all in, and you thread your rubber worm or your rubber craw, wherever it is, onto that jig. Okay, and that's why there's a couple of little notch barbs up here on the jig head, and that's how you hold your if you're using a grub, you wind him on through there and shove him all the way up to the ball, and that will hold your grub on. And then your hook is exposed up through the top. Now, some ways you hook them with the offsets and the wide gaps, you can hook these guys up so where the hook, it's almost weedless, so the tip of the hook is still stuck in the lure itself. So you make them weedless, and it doesn't set into the hook until you actually set the hook, and it comes through everything and then sets into the fish. Keeps you from getting hooked up on the weed so much when you're doing a lot of weed fishing and jigging. All right, and again, these come 1/6 ounce, or you're talking down to 5 grams. So your jig heads, what do I have my notes on? I have them all written down. A common jig head, 1/16 or 1.5 grams, all the way up to 3 ounces, 84 grams. Then you can get them in a number 4 to a number 8/0. Then you can get barbless. Now the barbless are 1/6 ounce, 1.5 up to 2.5 ounce or 71 grams. And they come equipped with a number 4 to a number 8/0. So you're looking at number 2 hooks, number 1, number 4, and they go up. A 1/0 hook, a 1/0 hooker on these guys, and you get up there to 4/0 hooks. So they go the same hook size, they go in line, and they just get bigger for bigger fish. Okay, and the barbless is the same thing, pretty much. And again, barbless, you're going to pay gold for them, guys. That's all there is to it. Okay, now let's talk about bobbers. Bobbers. Got different types, and they're for different weights, and these are all for your match rods. And they're a lot of fun to have. And I'm if you look down in the description in this video, I have a link to my July 7th, 2022. I did a video all about bobbers where I tested every one of them. And so if you want to learn all about these bobbers, go watch that video and you'll learn everything there is to know about bobbers and all the bobbers in this game and which ones will do what for you. They all have their own purpose. You're going to find out in the game that these wagglers and sliders are very important in the game. These are the guys that you can get deep with them. You can throw them a country mile. They're very, very versatile. Watch the video. It's a whole half hour on these bobbers, and I go through the bobbers in depth, each one of them and what they do for you. All right, guys. And again, they're all available at different levels, and they're different from the baits. Some of them, the smaller bobbers, the slim floats, you can't put large baits on them because you'll sink the bobbers. And your ovals, your sport bobbers, again, they're for small. As you can see, they're extra low, floating weight, extra low. So that's bloodworms, crickets, things like that nature. Some of these here, you can't even put a night crawler on them because the night crawlers are too heavy. Okay, so it all depends on what you're fishing for. However, you want these bobbers for delicate. If you're fishing for crappie or bluegill or things of that nature, you want a very light presentation into the water. You don't want big kaplunk and all that kind of stuff. So they have their purpose, and I use them all the time. I carry, now of course I don't have them here in my level 12 account. My level 80 account, I carry every bobber, at least one of every bobber, because they have a purpose. These egg bobbers are heavier, okay, and you can throw them farther. Okay, they have high extra, they got high weight. The pear bobbers, again, now most of these are plastic bobbers. They're not cork. Your cork egg bobbers are like in real life. They're a lot heavier, and you can really throw them farther. But your ball bobbers are very high durable. Maximum floating weight. It doesn't matter what kind of bait you put on these guys, you're not going to sink them. And it comes in real handy for at nighttime. You got these glow guys, and you do a lot of night fishing. Real nice to have these. Always keep a glow ball in your tackle box. You'll use it. But watch that video, and like I said, the link's down in the description. You'll be able to check them out. Okay, common bells. Basically just a bell alarm, fellas. And you got low sensitivity, medium, high, and extra high. And these are very nice to have, especially when you got your feeder poles and your bottom rods. And if you haven't leveled up high enough to get a rod stand that gives you bite alarms, this is going to be your only way of hearing them. Okay, your pole's going off in a rod stand, and having these here alarms, and you need to have them. I got a ton of them. It's about so I can hook up something for every pole I got, just about. All right, now let's go talk about sinkers. Sinkers. Let's get to just the sinkers. All right, a little parched here. Now our sinkers, they come with half ounce, 14 grams, up to 8 4/5, 250 grams. All right, and these are basically, this is it. This is what you get. This is a coated lead sinker, the flat pear shape, and you get a carp camouflage. These are the two types of sinkers that we use in the game here, and these are on normal bottom rods. You can replace your feeder cage with sinkers, and that's where these come into play. They're strictly for your feeders and bottom rods, where you put a sinker on. Okay, let's go back to drop sinkers. Okay, now a drop sinker, different weights. Now our drop sinkers, 1/16, basically 2 grams, up to 2.5, 70 grams. Now, drop sinker is used when you're using a 3-way rig. All right, and now we're going to go back and talk about the rig as soon as I talk about these sinkers, because then you'll know how the rigs work. Okay, now this is a drop sinker. This goes on a 3-way, and you have your different weights, right? Bullet sinkers. Bullet sinkers. Same kind of deal, 1/16 up to 2, so it's the same weight classes there. So you're going up. The bullet sinkers are actually 2 grams up to 70 grams, 2.5. All right. Now these go on Carolina and Texas rig ups. So when you're using a Texas rig or a Carolina rig, you'll use a bullet sinker. You'll have to have them. Now explain that when we do, because I'm going to tell you guys all about the rigs here. So these were the sinkers. Now, let's go over and talk about the rigs. All right, so that's going to be lines, terminal equipment, rigs. Okay, let's go look at the Carolina rig first. That's because these bullet sinkers are used on the Carolina rig and the Texas rig. So we'll look at a Carolina rig. All right, now here's your Carolina rigs. Basically, all this is a bullet sinker, a bead stop or a knot. There's different ways of doing it, and an offset hook. That's what a Carolina rig is. Now, if you look at a Carolina rig here, look at a picture, and they actually show it pretty good for you. All right? The Carolina rig, you have your bullet. You basically have a swivel. It's a barrel swivel, okay? So that spins, and this is where you would tie up to with your main line. Now, that's already, at that point, then you would put before you tie this rig on to that swivel, you would you put a bead on there for a Carolina rig, and it stops it up from the bait. If you'll notice here, the bait would get hooked onto this hook right over here. Now you've got all this distance, and then the bullet sinker is up here, normally with a knot and a bead. So it stops that sinker from coming back against the bait, and you have a set length. Now these are 3 feet long. So that's how long that is, 3 feet from the swivel snap up here to the end of where you're going to put your hook on, because it doesn't come with a hook, and it doesn't come with the actual bullet sinker. So it's just the rig up there with a knot on it, and so you can do this. All right, and you put your bullet sinker on there, and then you tie whatever size hook you're going to put on the end of this. All right, and you've got 3 feet of length there. Okay, that's a Carolina rig. Now let's look at the Texas rig. Almost identical parts. It's a bullet sinker. It's still got the bead and all. However, it's not knotted up. This thing will slide and move, okay? And it'll stay mostly right against the nose of the bait, all right? So when you've got your hook on there, you've got your rubber bait run up there right to the eyelet. Now, this thing will, and what this does is your weight now is dropping. It's dropping right. It's bringing the weight brings the bait itself right down with it, so it hits the bottom harder. If we go back and look at the Carolina rig, what it's going to do is this sinker is going to hit the ground out here, and this bait is free flowing behind it. It's free flowing. It can float, flutter, and drop slower. The bait will hit first, and this will flutter down. When you pull that line, the bait will come up off first. This will flutter a little bit across the bottom. So you get flutter, you get movement out of this. It's an easier flowing on the Carolina rig. Than the Texas rig is more abrupt. Your movement of your bait is abrupt because the bullet sinker is right on the nose of the bait. All right? That's the difference between a Texas rig and a Carolina rig. No gap in the Texas rig, a gap in the Carolina rig. Same setup. Okay. Terminal. Let's go to the 3-way rigs now. One of my favorites to fish with. 3-way rig. Now it uses the drop sinker, if you remember correctly, not the bullet sinker, but the drop sinker on this guy. All right? You have what's called a swivel, a 3-way swivel here. So your main line comes down and gets tied to a swivel. You have another line that runs out, and now this one here, they're running 3 feet, the same thing. So you got a 3-foot line running to your sinker off of this 3-way swivel. So you got 3 feet to the sinker, and then you put your weight of your sinker on. You got 3 feet from that swivel to where your hook gets mounted, where you tie your offset hook on. Now, what does that do? Well, when you're fishing this rig, the sinker hits the bottom. Your bait sits 3 feet higher in the water column. Get what I'm saying? If you were straight up and down. Now, of course, it's all going to vary as you're casting far out and you're pulling towards yourself. Okay, it's going to vary and move. But you now have a completely free moving bait. This is great for if you've got silty bottoms and weedy bottoms where you don't want to get hooked up, but you want that bait to run right above the weeds or so. You can adjust this stuff. You can make a longer trip to the bottom with your sinker. You know, the three-way doesn't have to be the same on each side. The whole point is you can hook these up yourself, tie them on yourself with a swivel and some line, and make your own three-way rig. You don't have to buy one already pre-done up for you. All right? So you can do that. And that's what a three-way is. And I love to fish this one. This, you can move across the bottom real easy. You can keep that bait right off the bottom and just drag it along. And I use it a lot in this game for specific fish. The catfish, the big catfish down in South America, Frumpy catfish. They're bottom feeders. They like to hug close to the bottom. I use a three-way rig when I'm using plastic crawfish. Just drag that right across the bottom and I get hooked up. A lot of hookups. All right, so that's your rigs. That's your 3 rig setups, Carolina, Texas, and three-way. All right, so we talked, and there's how all the sinkers come into play. So let's talk now feeders. Okay, we're going to talk about, there's a couple of different types of feeders. We've got cage feeders, method feeders, PVAs, and spods. Okay, so let's go. We'll take a look at cage feeders first. Cage feeders are either open meshed or closed. All right, and they got fins on them. They're weighted, so that's where you get your weight in your feeder poles. That's why they're available at level 3, 4, and 5, because it's basically a lightweight bottom rod, are those feeder poles, and you can hook this ground bait up in them. And if you don't want to utilize the ground bait theory of fishing, you just take this feeder cage off and put a sinker on that feeder rod, and now you have a lightweight bottom rod, no different than the big heavy chasers and stuff. You have that. All right, so these are all the feeder, the different types and different weight classes, up to 2 ounce. I think we started at 1/2 ounce, and they go all the way up to 3.5, 5 ounces. Oh no, we got one more page. 7 3/4 ounce feeder is the biggest one that we got in there. Okay, so that's those guys. Now let's look at method feeders. Now your method feeders go on your carp rods specifically for carp fishing. All right, now these are really cool because the bottom back of this method, this feeder, is weighted. So this thing always drops and falls flat on the ground with the top facing up, where the baits come up out of. Okay, so it's kind of cool way of doing it. And you know, it's again, these all have specific rods that they go on. You have to use specific ground baits for these. It's method mix, ground mix. It's, you know, there's a lot to this ground bait fishing in this game, and it takes a while to get the hang of it. I got a couple of videos out there, so I need to do a couple more on the ground bait stuff, though. I haven't done enough of them. Maybe we'll do that on this beginner series thing. I'll talk way more about the ground baits. That's probably a good idea, Buck. All right, so anyway, that's what these guys are. These go on carp rods. And if you put them on a bottom, I don't even think you can put them on a bottom rod. You can't. You can you do the closed feeders, open feeders on a bottom rod, but these are specific. I'm pretty sure these are carp rods only. Now you don't have to use feeders on a carp rod. Again, you can use a sinker on your carp rod. Okay, let's go to PVAs. These are kind of cool. All right, now PVA mesh bags. What these do, guys, is it's basically you put your ground bait in here, you put your hook in here, you put your whole hookup, all of it. It all goes in the bag, and you throw the whole thing out. And what it does is it dissolves. It's fast dissolving. These bags are fast dissolving, and got the mesh things, and then the large bags, and you can have them. But they dissolve into water there. The bait gets dispersed, and there's your hook and everything all there. It's right there. So that's kind of cool. I really haven't fished with them yet. I just know how they work. I haven't tried them yet. And that's what a PVA is. Now, then you have the spods. And again, these PVAs are just a method of delivering chum. You're chumming the water with this gear. And that's what it is. The spod rockets. You have your minis, a large, a medium, a large, and an extra large. That's just capacity. The way these guys work is that's one of the weapons we went over, spod rods. You got a spod rod with a giant say it's got a big reel on it that's real heavy, real fast recovery on it. And You load these things up with your ground bait, you throw it out there. When it hits the water, it opens up and it disperses the bait. You anchor in, fill her up, and you hit it out there a couple of times. And you chum the waters with this stuff. And it goes on spod rods. So these spod rods, you get a big reel that goes on here, spod reels, and then you put the spod rocket on it. And that's how you launch your bait. All right? Boom, boom, boom. Look at that, Buck. We got her all done. We talked about it all. Oh, one other thing we did not talk about. And they don't have them here in the game. In the store, you can't buy them. And that is catapults. Okay? So the catapults is basically a wrist rocket that, let's see, Pack's Popular, where is it at? Here it is. Right here. Okay. In the game for 190 bait coins, you can pick yourself the Ballisto ground bait catapult, the Fishing Planet cap, and a luminous headlamp. So you can get yourself everything you need in this little fishing accessory kit. And it's kind of cool. You finally get a headlamp, and of course you get the Fishing Planet hat. But this is really cool. You can carry this with you all the time. Okay, let's go back to the inventory and go onto your persons here. And right here it's grayed out. However, if you get that thing, you can load it up and carry it. It doesn't take up a rod slot like the spod rod does. If you deliver that way with the PVA bags, or if it takes up a spot. Okay, so this is the way. Now the only downfall to this is it only reaches medium length distance. So it's 131 feet. That's the maximum distance that you can get out of these things. And there's 3 of them available in the game that you can pick up on. And there's that one there, and I think there's one available in the Christmas deal there. And there's another one that you can get, the X Series. Now supposedly the X Series catapult has a longer range. I haven't got the X Series one yet, so I'm still working on that one. So, and that's the catapults. So, this buck. There we are, guys. That's terminal tackle. I hope that helped you out a little bit. If it did, remember, hit that like button, hit the subscribe, and check on the bell and get notified. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed my video. I hope you understand a little bit more about the hooks and stuff if you were a little bit confused. Like I said, this is for beginners, for you guys that are just starting out. And I know a lot of you guys maybe have never even fished before. So I know a lot of these numbers can be confusing when it comes to talking about hooks. So hopefully that cleared it up a little bit. All right, guys, remember, never, ever give up the fight. We'll see you later. Listen to the crickets sing.